Okay, let's talk about the big one. The question that's on everybody's mind from the water cooler to the boardroom: AI and our jobs. What's actually going to happen? Is this the biggest threat we've ever faced, or is it the greatest opportunity in a generation? We're going to break it all down, looking at the arguments from both sides to figure out what's really at stake here.
I mean, let's just cut right to it. This is the question, isn't it? Will a machine, a piece of code, be able to do what you do? And if it can, what happens then? This isn't some far off science fiction anymore. This is a real, live economic debate happening right now.
And this debate really boils down to two very different ways of seeing the future. On one side, you've got the pessimists. They're convinced that AI is going to wipe out more jobs than it ever creates. On the other side, the optimists. They argue that just like every big technology that's come before, AI is going to be this incredible engine for new jobs and new wealth. So let's see how they stack up. We'll do it in 2 rounds, starting with a case from the pessimists.
All right, round one. Let's hear from the pessimists. Their main concern isn't some robot apocalypse. No, it's something much quieter and maybe even more concerning. They call it the displacement argument. See, the way the pessimists see it, it's not like one day a switch flips and all the jobs are gone. It's more like a slow, steady erosion. AI starts by automating one little task you do. Maybe it's writing basic emails, then it's analyzing a spreadsheet, then it's drafting a report. And piece by piece, task by task, the human part of the job just shrinks until it's not really there anymore. And this isn't just some fringe theory. A report from Goldman Sachs in 2023 put a staggering number on this. They estimated that up to 300 million full-time jobs around the world could be exposed to AI automation. Now, exposed doesn't mean eliminated, right? But it gives you a sense of the sheer scale of what we're talking about. It's massive. Of course, the optimists hear this and they come right back with a classic, powerful argument. They say, hang on, just look at history. We've been through this dance before, with the steam engine, with electricity, with the personal computer. Every single time people panicked about mass unemployment, and every single time technology ended up creating more new jobs and entirely new industries than it destroyed. This is what economists call the Luddite fallacy. It's named after the textile workers back in the 1800s who smashed the machines they thought would replace them. And as you can see here, from steam power to PCs, the pattern has held. There's some initial disruption, sure, but it's always followed by long-term growth and new kinds of work. So the optimists are asking, why on earth would AI be any different? But the pessimists have a rebuttal, and it is a powerful one. They say this time is different. Think about it. All those previous technologies, they automated muscle power, manual labor. They freed up humans to do things with our brains, cognitive tasks. But AI, for the first time in history, it's coming for the cognitive tasks. It can write, it can analyze, it can code, it can even strategize. So the terrifying question they ask is, this time, where do the humans go? Okay, that's a pretty heavy point. Which brings us to round two, the growth argument. This is where the optimists really make their case. They say we're all so focused on the jobs being lost that we're missing the bigger picture, the absolutely massive economic boom that AI is about to unleash. So the heart of the optimist's case is this. AI is going to make us all wildly more productive. This massive boost in efficiency is going to create enormous new wealth, it's going to drive down the cost of goods and services, and it's going to create whole new industries that we can't even dream of yet. And all of that, it's going to need people. And they've got the numbers to back this up, too. That same Goldman Sachs report predicted that generative AI could boost annual global GDP by a whopping 7% over 10 years. I mean, do you know how much money that is? That's trillions of dollars of new value. The optimists believe that's a rising tide that will lift all boats. But the pessimists push back hard on this. They hear trillions of dollars and they ask a simple question. Who gets to keep it? Their biggest fear is that all these incredible gains won't trickle down to the average worker as higher wages. Instead, they believe it'll all be captured by the people who own the AI, the owners of capital, leading to an inequality gap wider than anything we've ever seen. And this chart here, it visualizes that exact fear. It shows a future where the economic pie gets way, way bigger, but almost all of the new slices go to the capital owners and a tiny group of high-skilled workers who know how to manage the AI. Meanwhile, everyone else, the middle and low-skilled workers, sees their wages flatten out or even drop. It's a picture of a hollowed-out middle class. But the optimists have one last, very compelling response. They say, stop looking at charts and look at the real world.
New jobs are already popping up that didn't even exist a few years ago. Think about it. Prompt engineer, AI ethics officer, AI trainer. Who had that on their business card 5 years ago? This, they say, is proof that human creativity will always find new ways for us to work alongside our tools.
So we've heard the back and forth, but it makes you wonder, why are these two groups looking at the very same technology and seeing such radically different futures? Well, the answer isn't just in the data, it's in their perspectives, what they choose to focus on, and what they value most. And this table just nails it. It gets right to the heart of why they disagree. See, the pessimists, they're laser focused on the median worker. For them, it doesn't matter if the GDP is skyrocketing if the average person is worse off. They care about wages and job quality. The optimists, though, they're looking at the big picture, total productivity, GDP growth. They have faith that a bigger economic pie, driven by innovation, will eventually benefit everyone. They're just looking at the world through two completely different lenses. So this brings us to the final, and maybe the most important question. This isn't just some academic thought experiment, right? This is about the world we're all going to live in. So what would it actually take? What kind of real-world proof would make either side say, you know what, I might have been wrong?
To convince a pessimist, you'd have to show them the money, literally. They'd need to see the benefits of all this AI productivity show up in the paychecks of regular, everyday people, not just tech billionaires. They need to see millions of new, accessible jobs being created, not just a handful of fancy titles. And they need to see real proof that we can actually retrain people fast enough to keep up.
And what about the optimists? What would it take for them to get worried? Well, they'd have to see history break. If the economy started growing like crazy but jobs weren't being created, that would be a huge red flag. If we ended up with a large, permanent group of people who were essentially unemployable and society started to unravel because of it, well, at that point, even the most hardcore optimist would have to admit that this time really is different.
And that's really the crucial point here, isn't it? We've been talking about jobs and GDP and productivity, but underneath it all, this is a debate about our values. It's about what kind of society we actually want to live in. Do we prioritize overall economic growth above all else? Or do we care more about broad prosperity and social stability? The technology doesn't get to decide that. We do.
Which leaves us with one final crucial thought. Maybe the most important question isn't, will AI take our jobs? Maybe it's, how do we make sure it doesn't? How do we guide this incredible technology with our policies, with our education systems, with our investments, to build a future that truly works for everyone, not just for a chosen few? Answering that question, well, that's the real challenge ahead for all of us.